What is up, everybody? Welcome in to Shout, a Buffalo football podcast. We are here live at Wingnutz, 1402 Millersport Highway, the home of the greatest chicken wings in Western New York. It is a pretty big Buffalo Bills weekend, Ryan, and we like to do those big weekends right here at Wingnutz. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. We are at a packed house here tonight at Wingnuts. Tons of Bills fans in the house as we get ready for a big game against the Chiefs.
So here's the rundown here. So we're going to preview this game. We're going to get into all of the matchups, all of the details. We get through that. We'll make our predictions as well. We'll even bring up some Bills fans to talk about, to give their hot takes, whatever they're thinking. I feel like, Ryan, before we get into this game, this has been a week of anxiety. Whininess is something that I've said to a couple of people. It feels like Bills fans are very uncomfortable, and it's produced a conversation around this game and this team this week that I don't feel like we've seen a lot over the last couple of years.
It's funny because, listen, the Bills have had their letdowns on offense. They've had their issues, but they're sitting here at 5-2, and you would think that they were 2-5 based on some of the discourse on social media. I saw someone today talking about coming to terms that this is a lost season halfway through the year before, we don't know how this is going to turn out, but they're at 5-2. They're in a pretty good spot, Matt, at least for a playoff berth.
And I understand it too, because you've been through this journey now 5 years in a row where it feels like you're getting so close to getting over the hump. And now over the last month, the Chiefs have actually turned back into the Chiefs, right? Like they look like the offensive powerhouse that they have been the last couple of years. It feels like everything Bills fans want for the passing game in Buffalo, the Chiefs have going on with Rashee Rice, Marquise Brown, Xavier Worthy. There is just so many guys in that offense right now in the passing game, especially. Oh, and by the way, Travis Kelce, Juju Smith-Schuster, it feels like they just have so many weapons that are producing at the high level. In Buffalo right now, before the Dalton Kincaid injury, when he was having a really good year, I'm not sure there's another name that you could say has been a consistent presence in this passing game.
Yeah, the Chiefs are 5 deep at wide receiver. I mean, Tyquan Thornton, who hasn't done much the last few weeks, with Worthy back and with Rashee Rice coming back from suspension, was their big play receiver downfield when they were out. So they have great depth. They also have Andy Reid, who's one of the best of all time when it comes to scheming things up. So it's probably frustrating watching a team like that versus the struggles and the woes of the Bills passing game the last few weeks.
We're here at Wingnuts, like I mentioned. If you're not going to the game tomorrow, get here, 1402 Millersport Highway, or the other Wingnuts location by the airport. Best place to watch games all Sunday long in the NFL. Already started on our wings. We had to take a quick break to come over here and do the show. Tomorrow, what do you think, as a Bills fan, going into this game tomorrow, should be the expectation of the style of game? Because over the years, I feel like these two teams now, going into their 10th matchup, including the playoffs, they've played a couple different versions of the game. Sometimes it's like trying to be turnover free. Sometimes it's airing it out and really getting involved in a shootout. In this game in Buffalo tomorrow, how do you feel like it plays out?
I feel like it plays out as a big James Cook game. I feel like this is a matchup where they need to pound the rock with Cook based on what we've seen from the Chiefs defense this year, their struggles stopping the run up the middle of the defense. So to me, as much as I would love to see Josh Allen, the passing game, get things right, I think they need to establish the run first. And once they do that, you lean on the play action pass, something else we're going to talk about tonight. But it all starts with James Cook for this Bills offense.
Yeah, so also the other piece of this is, to your point, you got to be able to run the ball, right? Against the Chiefs, though, teams end up having to almost abandon the run because of how efficient their offense has been and the way that they've been scoring the ball. I went back and I watched the 2 games against the Chiefs last year, and I felt like the Bills did a really good job of either staying blow for blow early, like in the playoff game, but in the regular season game, the Bills got up and played from ahead, and they still weren't able to really utilize James Cook. Tomorrow, Joe Brady, there's no excuses left for why you don't have James Cook on the field. In the first game against the Chiefs last year, he used him 37% of the snaps. In the playoff game, he used him 45% of the snaps. He's had games this year, Ryan, where he played over 70% of the snaps. That's where I'm at in this offense with James Cook tomorrow. He's got to be on the field, and not only running the ball, you have to get him all involved in the passing game, because last year against the Chiefs, there were a few opportunities they took advantage of, 3 catches as part of his 135 total yards in that game. But also a couple of times where if Josh Allen finds him as part of his reads, he has a couple of opportunities to break big time plays in the passing game.
Yeah, I did a radio spot earlier this week, and I said a key was 20 to 25 touches for James Cook, and that includes as a receiver, where the Bills really have not utilized him, oddly enough, in that regard this year. But get Cook involved on some, quick swing outs. There's been times where he's been open coming out of the backfield, and Allen just hasn't been hitting him. So I don't know why that has been. I don't feel like the Bills are trying to hide anything, but this is a game where you need to utilize your back, not just running out of the backfield, but as a receiver as well.
So with that comes the play action pass. And I think one of the weapons that you could really lean on in play action is James Cook. They had one in the playoff game last year where Josh Allen, quick play action, get James Cook out in space, get the ball in his hands quickly. The quarterbacks that do that really well in the league, the Mahomes, the Herberts, to me that gives the running back an advantage to get to the second and third level quickly and really attack at that level. And at times this year, the Chiefs haven't been one of the best tackling teams in the league, especially at the linebacker position. Nick Bolton, as good as he is, that to me is where you could be a little bit susceptible. And I have a couple of numbers here that I want to kind of throw out there in terms of the play action pass here. So the Bills this season, middle of the road when it comes to play action attempts per game. They're averaging somewhere around 10 per game. In this game, though, I think that you want to lean on the play action and maybe do it 15 to 20 times in this game just to put that in the mix against Steve Spagnuolo. They haven't done it at a super high clip over the years. It's kind of a little bit uncharacteristic to be heavy play action against the Chiefs. Do it early and often with Cook, with Ty Johnson, whoever you have in the backfield, because I feel like that's an area that you can attack this Chiefs defense.
Yeah, that's been a struggle for the Chiefs this year, and the Bills are coming off of a season low 7 play action attempts against Carolina, but they didn't need to use it against Carolina. In a game against Kansas City, this is going to be a weapon for them to utilize based on the struggles that we've seen from Kansas City early this season. So utilize the play action. I expect to see double digits in that area.
Thank you so much for watching here. We got a couple hundred on the live episode. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel as well. We've got a gentleman here that's just been dying to get. Come on in. Come on in, buddy. I love your energy and your aggressiveness. We usually save the fan portion of the episode for the end, but you're feeling all types of hyped up here. So I want to get you in right now. What's your name?
Benjamin.
What's up, Benjamin? You got a take? You got something you want to drop on the show?
Yeah, I do. I moved to California. I made a lot of money, and then I actually came back home to North Tonawanda because this is where the Bills fans are. You have the greatest hometown team.
People are pumped up for Benjamin. I like it. So what's your prediction for the game tomorrow?
Buffalo 27, Chiefs 13.
Beautiful, beautiful. Great job, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Right on, man. Love you.
I love you too. Give it up for Benjamin. I got to give it up to Benjamin. And the energy that was permeating from him right off of the set here, I couldn't wait any longer. I had to get him onto the show.
I get it. He was working his way in here. I liked it. I'm glad he came on, gave his prediction, and shared his thoughts.
All right, so I want to get back into this offense a little bit because I think there's two players. Well, one player that's been under fire this week, and his name's Keon Coleman, the Bills' second-round draft pick last week. Steve Smith, NFL analyst, former NFL wide receiver, came out and dedicated a 20-minute podcast to basically just torching the guy.
Shred him apart.
He shred him apart. And I personally think it was a little bit harsh. I think that there's an element, Stevie Johnson put out that he thinks he isn't being utilized properly. And maybe in the offense, Joe Brady, who to his credit took some of the blame for why Keon Coleman hasn't been more of a factor this year. I think this has to be a big Keon Coleman game, though. I think that you drafted him when you drafted him to be able to perform in big games. You're not going to have Josh Palmer. So I like the Curtis Samuel upside in this game. He played well against the Chiefs last year. But Keon Coleman, without Palmer there, is your number one wide receiver. Whether or not he's put up the numbers to be considered that, you need him to deliver in that spot. I also want to discuss Dalton Kincaid. Who do you think in this matchup against the Chiefs is set up to maybe have the bigger game?
To me, it's Coleman, and here's why. The Chiefs and the Bills, to their credit, have been great against tight ends this season. They have really shut down tight ends from having productive days. So I feel like Kincaid, they're going to really zero in and focus on slowing him down. If you were asking me in terms of who I think has the more upside, obviously, I would say Kincaid. But based on how Kansas City has played tight ends, I have to think it's going to be Coleman. And you and I were talking pre-show, Matt. The way they've utilized Coleman has been baffling at times. 40% go routes. That's not his skill set. That's not the best way to utilize what he brings to the table. So he's been getting a frequent amount of targets regardless of how they're running him out there on the field. I think you're going to see him be fed the ball quite a bit, along with Khalil Shakir, obviously.
That's the thing about Khalil Shakir. It's like it's so easy to overlook him, but he does get big in these big games. The final stat line usually looks like somewhere like 10 for 80 or 90, maybe a touchdown thrown in there. But after the catch, they're going to need him to be an available weapon for Josh Allen. And, one of the other things that I've talked so much with fans about this week is just the state of Josh Allen in this offense, where he's at mentally, where he's at in terms of performative over the last couple of weeks. This hasn't been the best version of Josh Allen that we've seen. I think rushing through his reads, at times ineffective, some turnover-worthy plays. Like if you go back to the playoff game last year, Ryan, the first two throws that he made in that game were almost interceptions. And to me, that is a big recipe for disaster against the Chiefs this time around. You have to take care of the football. You can't put the football in jeopardy. And Josh Allen's kind of done that at quite a high clip over the last couple of weeks. Where's your confidence level in Josh to come out and have a Josh Allen type game against the Chiefs tomorrow?
It's pretty high because against Kansas City in his career, traditionally he's averaging almost 300 yards of offense against them. I think it's 294 in the regular season, somewhere around 325 in the playoffs. He plays his best against Kansas City. So I think in terms of the confidence meter, you're going to get him out there. He's going to make some good throws, but obviously early on in games, he still is a little bit too amped up at times. We'll see if maybe Joe Brady tries to hit some easy things for him early on in this matchup to eliminate that. But, yeah, he saves his best, it seems, against Kansas City.
If I'm Joe Brady and I want to kind of fight against that, I go under center with Josh Allen, and I put the ball in James Cook's hands, and I say, all right, Kansas City defense, stop us if you can. I mean, they're built for this, right? Like this has been, to me, the 3-year project that Aaron Kromer really started to help visualize, was the way they turn the tables and become this run-oriented team. In these matchups, when teams know you want to run the ball against them, you have to find a way to execute, especially early in the game, to mitigate some of those nerves. And then off of the run, if you could come out with your scripted plays and you can get physical on the outside with your receivers blocking, which to me, that's been the one area of Keon Coleman's game that has been really good. Now you're setting yourself up downhill and you put the Kansas City defense on the, back pedal. You get yourself into a rhythm offensively, and then you deploy Josh Allen as a passer and maybe even include him as a runner a bit as well.
Yeah, I don't hate that game plan at all, but I would not be shocked if the first play of the game is a play action pass based on the struggles that Kansas City has had this year, knowing how much they utilize James Cook. Pretend to hand it off, try to hit something in that intermediate range to Khalil Shakir, to Keon Coleman. Try to put it in their hands and kind of get some yards after the catch, set up a second and favorable, or even move the chains on that first play, but something a little bit easier. Don't try to take any kind of crazy shots downfield where you're putting the ball at risk.
All right, so a lot to get into defensively in terms of which players are not going to be a part of this thing, and we should probably make our way through the injury report. Taron Johnson, the Bills' stud nickel cornerback, injured in practice yesterday, officially questionable for this game. So the Bills elevate Dane Jackson off the practice squad, which from my perspective, that tells me that they're going to ask probably Cam Lewis to start in his place if he can't go. Jamarcus Ingram can play in the slot as well, but Dane Jackson might have to kind of fill in on special teams, and that's somewhere where he's done in the past. You said it. He can also play a little bit on the boundary as well if you need him in a depth role. Taron Johnson's loss in this game, how big of a factor is this for you?
Most years I would say massive, but Taron Johnson hasn't been playing his best football. Now, let me also back that up by saying who knows what we're going to get out of Cam Lewis and Jamarcus Ingram in that role, assuming that we don't see Taron Johnson. I could also see the Bills trying him out pregame tomorrow, seeing what it looks like and making a determination from there. Having Dane Jackson as kind of your backup plan is potential depth on the outside. If you can't have Taron Johnson there, you move Ingram in. You have Cam Lewis there. So I'm not going to sit here and say with 100% certainty that Taron Johnson is out. But if he is, this is not a typical year where I say this is a great loss, because he is one of many players who have struggled this year on defense.
Daquan Jones will not play in this game. He's already been ruled out. The Bills have elevated Fedarian Mathis, who has only been involved with the team for about 4 or 5 weeks, played a game a couple of weeks ago. On the interior, with Ed Oliver now out for the foreseeable future, Daquan Jones down, you're looking at the starting tandem of Larry Ogunjobi and Deion Walker. You'll have Jordan Phillips that'll be able to pitch in as well, and then Mathis is your fourth defensive tackle. Is that an area of concern? I know the Bills have been so good on the outside, and we'll get into that in a second. Patrick Mahomes is getting the ball out faster than anybody in the NFL through 9 weeks this season. I think his time to throw is like 2.61 seconds because he has so many guys on the inside and outside winning for him in routes. And all I think about is 3 weeks ago in Atlanta, as the Bills tried to defend Drake London, and it just Michael Penix time after time, going back, 1 read, 2 read, ball out, and then carving up this defense. And I look to the interior and I'm like, Ed Oliver didn't play in that game. He's not going to be available in this game. How consistently are the Bills going to be able to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes? Because that's kind of like the whole storyline going into this game for me.
Yeah, you're going to need Deion Walker to continue to step up. He has been outstanding this year. Larry Ogunjobi, he was fine last week in his debut with the Bills, but still a little bit of a mystery there coming off of that 6-game suspension in terms of what you're going to get. Jordan Phillips will have those few plays where he got in last week for his sack against Andy Dalton. He had a big sack in the playoff game against the Chiefs last year. You can count on him from time to time, but yeah, certainly the depth is a concern in this game. But for the Bills, you have to wonder then, if he's getting the ball out so quickly, do you have to have a shift in philosophy in terms of an uptick in man defense versus zone, which they've obviously historically done a lot more than man?
That's a great transition point, because I want to talk about what Joe Brady decides, or Sean McDermott, not Bobby Babbage, decides to dial up in this game. The Bills this season are middle of the pack. They play man defense at about 24% of the time, right? Against the Kansas City Chiefs, to me, the natural answer to their speed on the outside is going man coverage a little bit more. Do you think they could ratchet up that percentage to somewhere around 40%? You have Maxwell Hairston, who's back in the mix. I think that you like his speed and his ability to maybe play some press man on the outside. I like actually Christian Benford in press man on the outside, whether it be against Goodwin, whether it be against Rashee Rice. He plays mostly in the slot. You'll probably be looking at Cam Lewis in that spot. I like Cam Lewis in the slot. Like, I'm not saying that's an upgrade over Taron Johnson, but they have to play man. Do you think the disparity, 25% to 40%, they can make that up? Would Sean McDermott be that aggressive tomorrow?
I think he almost has to be, Matt. And we've seen a change in this defense from the second half of the Atlanta game on. And it's no coincidence that is when fans started noticing McDermott with a play call sheet over his mouth and seeming to be calling in these plays. So I think that it's no secret. This Bills defense was built to stop Kansas City.
Right.
That's what this team has done. They said there's one giant in the AFC. It's Kansas City. Let's build up our defense to stop them. And now here's your opportunity. You have Hairston, who looked very good in his debut last week with that speed, to counter Xavier Worthy or be able to stop plays downfield for Hollywood Brown, whoever it may be. Benford, I want to say that he deserves credit for a few plays last week in press man where he threw the timing off for those receivers, where Dalton put the ball in a spot where his guy was supposed to be, and he was just a hair off because you get jammed at the line, you get thrown off just the littlest bit, and it pays those dividends. So if Mahomes is going to try to throw the ball out quickly, you got to jam these guys at the line.
If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Almost 1,000 people watching across all platforms on this Saturday night, which is actually really impressive for a home game weekend because usually everybody's already out at the bars, wherever, celebrating, pre-gaming, getting ready for tomorrow. So my player to watch tomorrow on Bills Kickoff Live on Channel 4, I want to talk about him right now because I was listening to the Mina Kimes show this week, and she had a conversation with Ben Solak, and he brought up Terrell Bernard and the fact through 9 games, he has been the 3rd worst middle linebacker in the NFL in terms of coverage grade, according to Pro Football Focus. And to me, that meets the eye test. I mean, Terrell Bernard has not been good this season. Almost at any point, he's been late to fire against the run. He's been a problem in coverage where guys get into open space, make plays, and now it's putting the pressure on the safeties. What do the Bills do at linebacker tomorrow? Because you have Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard, who are available to come back. You have Shaq Thompson, who's been the best linebacker of the bunch, unavailable with the hamstring injury. You have Dorian Williams, who played good last week. My first idea was play Matt Milano at the middle linebacker spot and then go Dorian Williams on run plays and put Bernard out there on 3rd down. And then, because I think that Milano can spy Patrick Mahomes better than the other 3. That gives you a really good spot, but he's never played Mike linebacker in this defense. So I don't think that they're going to pivot off of what they've done so long. It's probably going to be Bernard and Milano. How big of a concern is that for you?
It's a big concern for the reasons you mentioned. Bernard has been, washed out in run plays. He can't shed off of these offensive linemen and guys that are coming up, wide receivers, tight ends. But again, this is a player where the Bills drafted him because they like the sidelines to sideline speed, the athleticism. So this is a huge opportunity for him to show what he can do against an offense where the Bills potentially feel like this is a get-right game for him. So I love the idea of Milano spying. He's done it before. He's had success. But considering Shaq Thompson is out and the success that, he's been their best linebacker, quite frankly, this is a big opportunity for Bernard to remind everyone who he is, make some plays on the ball, be in the right spot. A few years ago, maybe it was last year in the regular season, the interception to seal the game.
Yep.
So, he rises to the moment in these games. But if there's one extension the Bills might have a little bit of regret on, this point of the season, it's him. So this is a big opportunity for him to show the Bills were right to invest in him as a long-term player.
The other problem from a coverage perspective is I still don't know how close to 100% he is with the ankle. He had it pretty heavily taped during the practice week this week. So that's going to be something that I'm watching as well. However this ends up going, the Bills have played more base 4-3 defense this season than in any year I can remember under Sean McDermott. So if you have Matt Milano out there as the starter and Terrell Bernard out there as the starter, how much are you sprinkling in Dorian Williams? Are you bringing one of them off the field as well? To me, as much as calling this game is important for Sean McDermott, I think his roster and personnel decisions in this matchup are going to be so crucial. Jordan Hancock, against this passing game, to me, has to be out there much more than the 20-ish% he was out there last week.
I'd like to see his snaps get about to 35, maybe even 40% in this game. He deserves credit for taking a Rico Dowdle touchdown off the board early in that matchup where he showed that speed and athleticism to track him down downfield where obviously, Jordan Poyer at this point in his career can't do that anymore. Cole Bishop has the athleticism, but he also has a history of chasing guys down and then not being able to bring them to the ground. So this is a turning point for the Bills, starting, last week, obviously, where you need to get your young guys on the field, let them get their reps, take their lumps. So we're seeing Harrison get more opportunities. I want to see Jordan Hancock get more opportunities. Deion Walker obviously already is. And then when you get TJ Sanders back here in a few weeks, same thing. Let these young guys start taking over the majority of the reps. So come playoff time, they've kind of worked through those problems like we saw a few years ago with Kansas City where they made a run and won a Super Bowl.
We're going to give our predictions here for tomorrow in a moment. I never know what Ryan is picking before we do this thing, so it's always a surprise to me as well. He does pick against the Bills a lot, actually. So I will
And
not
it's
be
actually usually a good thing for the Bills.
Yeah, your record's terrible, actually, when it comes to picking games. But one thing I want to hit real quick before we get to the predictions is this narrative around whether or not the Bills need to win tomorrow, So going into this game, they've won 4 straight regular season matchups against the Chiefs. It's yielded no success in the playoffs. And I've almost noticed, some fans hoping that the Bills lose tomorrow so that maybe Brandon Beane will take that as a sign that he's got to get aggressive. He's got to go out and make a trade. He's got to bring in a wide receiver, which, oh, by the way, reports today from Diana Rossini, the Bills have made calls on Chris Olave and Jacoby Myers. So all of the conversation in the offseason about not needing to address wide receiver, right now, the Bills believe inside their building that adding at wide receiver makes a lot of sense. I've been on the Chris Olave train since March, it feels like. And remember, I put out that mailbag back in March, and it got aggregated to the moon, where people thought I was actually saying that the Bills are trading for Chris Olave. But I think his skill set, it makes a lot of sense. The thing that I'm worried about in this game tomorrow, you go back and you watch the Chiefs game last year, both of them. Amari Cooper, as unheralded as his run with the Bills really was, he was a factor in both of those games. He gave Josh an option winning on the outside. Mac Hollins had a couple huge boundary plays for the Bills in the playoff game last year. Who's going to step up and do that tomorrow? But in terms of, do the Bills have to win this game, or should they lose? Are you hoping they lose the game? I think that's nonsense. I think the mindset in the building should be, you beat the Chiefs now, and then you beat the Chiefs when you play them in the playoffs, because I think the Bills have been so close there over the years. I think winning this game means a lot because it could go toward hosting the Chiefs in the playoffs as opposed to having to go to Kansas City again.
This is just such a bizarre game because we're sitting here in the middle of the season and neither the Bills or the Chiefs are in first place in their division. So this is a big game for both teams. Kansas City is chasing Denver. Buffalo is chasing New England, who, again, that favorable schedule in New England, they're taking advantage of it. They're winning games they're supposed to win, and that's putting pressure on Buffalo to continue to do so. So it is a big game from that perspective in terms of keeping track with New England, But win or lose, this does not dictate how the season plays out. I fully anticipate both of these teams will be in the playoffs at the end of the year.
All right, it is prediction time. Stay tuned. We'll be bringing up a couple fans here to talk. Give us their hot takes. Give us their predictions for how tomorrow's going to go. But I'll start. So tomorrow's game, we talked a lot about it. It comes down to which team can control the ball, which team can make the least amount of mistakes. And over the last couple of weeks, it's felt like Josh Allen has been hunting out the mistakes. But against the Chiefs, Tony Romo comes to town. Everybody's talking about this game all week. We had Bill Cowher on the podcast. He'll be coming to Orchard Park to do the pregame show. I feel like Josh Allen raises his level of play in these games. And for as much as we talk about the mistakes that Josh Allen has been trying to make, Patrick Mahomes threw 2 first-half interceptions last week against the lowly Washington Commanders. Joey Bosa was brought here for games like this. He's been one of the most pressure-inducing edge rushers in the NFL this season. I think he has a sack tomorrow. I think he has 5 pressures tomorrow. I think the Bills win 31-24, changing the kind of narrative around their season a little bit tomorrow against the Chiefs.
Right. I'm afraid of the reaction I'm about to get after you just got these cheers. Listen, I think this is going to be a back-and-forth matchup. Every Chiefs and Bills game is. This is going to go down the wire, but when I saw Matt Prater on the injury report this week with a calf injury to his kicking leg, it just brings back and evokes those memories of some pretty, the bad missed kick last year from Tyler Bass come playoff time. Can you count on Prater to make it in a meaningful moment? I have this one going down to the wire, but the Chiefs winning 31-28.
All right. So
I deserve it.
One of my all-time criticisms of my best friend and tag team partner here is he makes way too many takes based on special teams. Okay? You're killing me with the kicker take here. Okay? Nothing gets under my skin more than that. But here's the thing. What you're saying makes a lot of sense, right? Like going into this game, Matt Prater all week long has been somebody that we've been watching out on the practice field, haven't seen him kick at all. if you get into a situation where it's 4th and 7 at the 40-yard line and the wind's blowing a little bit and you got to send Prater out to make a big time kick, maybe this injury puts you in a spot where you don't feel confident putting out there. You go for it, you don't make it. Those are the kinds of things you have to consider. I get it.
Which, oddly enough, could be a blessing in disguise for the Bills, because this year, Sean McDermott is one of the worst coaches in the NFL based on the go for it rate when you should go for it on 4th down, and he hasn't. He's opted to kick field goals, punt the ball at times. So he's played a little bit too conservatively, where the last few years he's been at the top of that list where he's been going for it when he's supposed to. So maybe we'll look back on this and the Bills have to go for it a few times. And if they convert, maybe it ends up working out in their favor.
All right, so that is going to wrap up the show. Let's bring up Ed first of all before we get to our fan segment. Anybody that wants to come up after that, just get in line right here behind my wonderful father-in-law here. Takes all the pictures at the live show. We'll get up Ed, the OG. Come on in, buddy, right in the middle.
Right in the middle. Watch that boot.
Yeah. The creator of the best chicken wing in Western New York, Ed, in the house. And I shouldn't even say Western New York, the world, right, my friend? How are you?
That's what Barstool says.
Exactly. What's going on? What do you got for us tonight?
Well, first of all, hello, Wingnuts. All right. I'd like to thank God for what Wingnuts has become and share this story with you. So at the beginning of the month of October, Alicia and I drove to Texas for a wedding. And on the way down there, we stopped in Tennessee to get gas and get water and stop at the store. And I'm walking out of the store and I hear, excuse me. And I turn around and I don't know who it was. And some guy's like, it is you. Oh my gosh, the Wingnuts guy. I've been wanting to meet you for so long. I can't believe I ran into you. And he shook my hand and he was gone, like instantly gone.
Did he get a picture?
No, he just ran.
That's an epic fail.
And I didn't know what to say because I'm 4 states away from Wingnuts. And all of a sudden I was like, I didn't know.
Took you off balance there for a minute.
It certainly did. But we had a great time. And on the way back, we stopped at the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Nice.
And it was awesome. Yeah. If you've never been there, please go. It is great.
What do you think about tomorrow?
I'm more nervous about tomorrow than I was about the playoffs last year. I guess the word would be anxious for all the reasons the both of you just said for the last half hour. It just seems like Kansas City has a much bigger advantage than usual. I don't know how else to say it.
It makes a lot of sense. They're playing at what I would say is probably the highest level. The defense, which was struggling early in the season, the last couple of weeks, what they did to the Detroit Lions to me was the telltale sign that they were back. But there's such a familiarity with these two teams that I think that's one of the areas that, get aggressive, get after Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you built this team to beat this team. So I almost feel like of all the teams the Bills have on their schedule, this to me is the team that they're tailor-made to play against. Now, not having Ed Oliver doesn't help anything.
Right. Well, it brings up a question, and it's directed at both of you. I listen to you guys more than any other sports people, and I trust your opinions. So I have to ask, with everything you discussed, say today or during the week on other podcasts, do you think the coaches listen to what you say? Because it makes sense.
I do not think that Sean McDermott is an avid listener of the Shout Buffalo Football podcast. But we do, like in these press conferences, I do think that they can read the tea leaves based on how questions are being asked, And I think this week, the disconnect, it seemed from the outside looking in between Joe Brady and Sean McDermott, and he came out on Wednesday and said, hey, we're on the same page. Everything is kumbaya. It's interesting because the way this offense has been built to kind of be this run-first team, if you think back a couple of years ago when Ken Dorsey was here and even Brian Dable before that, that was Sean McDermott's vision. Like he wanted to be a more physical, run-oriented team. They built that, but because of that, at times now I feel like the passing game has struggled at times, especially it's kind of taken away a little bit of the Josh Allen magic. So they're really good at like taking all of this in and devising a way to adjust based on it, I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Allen comes out and throws for 300 yards tomorrow, just to kind of maybe shut everybody up.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. My question then would have been, is Josh being underutilized? And Sean, in the beginning of his tenure in Buffalo, he seemed to be able to adjust at halftime. That doesn't seem so prominent anymore. So I'd like to hear your thoughts.
I don't know if I would say underutilized, but I feel like he has trouble getting into a rhythm the way that they are running it so heavily. So you saw early in that game where he missed Ray Davis last week, and he missed Curtis Samuel on a play where the safety fell, and you connect with him, and that's a big hitter. So the Bills were so pass-heavy under Brian Daboll that I feel like he could get into that rhythm, and that helped him out significantly. Where now if you're running it so much, it doesn't necessarily let you work out those kinks early on in the game. So that's part of the problem. The other part, too, is the Bills don't have any wide receiver right now that, outside of Shakir, that I feel like he really feels that I can throw it to them in a meaningful moment. They're going to come down and make a play with it. So there's that frustration, too. And one talk that I've seen a lot on social media this week is name a player, a wide receiver specifically, in Joe Brady's offense that is playing their best football versus Brian Daboll, where you could rattle off a list of players who play their best football in that offense, where now no one's playing great football at that position. So, they have to recalculate. They had the bye week. They didn't need to pass the ball much against Carolina. What does it look like tomorrow against Kansas City, where they are going to have to pass it a little bit?
The most frustrating part about that, too, if you think about it, is like a guy like Curtis Samuel was brought here specifically because of his background with Joe Brady. So you would think the offensive coordinator who was in the building advocating for bringing this guy in, there'd be a better consistent plan for how to utilize him. And the frustrating thing from my end is that the highs of Curtis Samuel in this offense have been super high. He's been good in the intermediate area. He's been able to win down the field, go back to the Denver playoff game last year. It just doesn't seem like, whether it's a trust with Josh Allen, whether it's the belief in the coaching staff. Now, he gets hurt a lot, too. That's a big problem. But you're paying this guy $9 million per season. You got to figure out a way to utilize him a little bit more. All right, everybody, give it up for Ed, man. He came in here with loaded with some questions today. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. Who else do we got? Oh, we're going to the bullpen. Bring in big Mark Bouchard, one of our insiders. No pressure, buddy. We got 1,000 people watching across all platforms. What do you got for us today?
So anyways, I do agree with you this morning with the text you sent out. We do have to get Chris Olave in here. Bean needs to just pull the trigger, do it, get him in. Matter of fact, fly him in here tonight for tomorrow. But I get where Bean's probably coming from with the wide receiver one, because I know he doesn't like, ever since the Diggs drama, I'm sure, he doesn't want to go that route. But we do need a wide receiver one that can get that separation and get downfield for Josh. Definitely.
I think, too, like, if you add a Chris Olave, I think first and foremost, it takes all the pressure off of everybody else, which I think Stephon Diggs did in his time here, right? I also think it gives you some protection. So when you go into a game like this, if you have Josh Palmer down, but you have Olave and Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir, you've now added in a little natural buffer so that you're not missing a skill set so badly. That, to me, is where they've lost the most. I mean, you go out and you bring in Elijah Moore, who's been invisible in this offense, and maybe this is the week that it pops for him. I don't know. It hasn't popped yet, so I don't know if there's going to be a time for them to really figure out a way to utilize him. But you missed Matt Collins' consistency. You missed, even when he was healthy, Amari Cooper was good when he was healthy in this offense. So right. I think that they've realized that. They've used the first 7 weeks to do it. I'd probably argue that it would have made a lot more sense to do it back in March.
Exactly. And unfortunately, Keon Coleman, he's a contested catch receiver. He's not a downfield separator.
Is he? Is he a contested catch guy? I'm asking that question.
I know.
Because that was the scouting report on him, right?
Part of it.
But through a year and a half, how many times have we seen Josh Allen throw the ball up for him and him not find a way to come down with it? And I almost feel like, to me, that's the most disheartening thing about the Keon stuff. What people said he did so well coming out, we're not seeing that consistently enough. with Keon Coleman.
I know, because you guys saw it in training camp. He was doing so great. And
He
then
did it
now,
great against the Bills secondary.
Yeah. But, and I think Brandon Bean kind of messed up in the 2023 draft when he traded back and handed Xavier Worthy over to the Chiefs. I think that was a big mistake, but I know how he likes to trade back. And moving on to the next dig, Travis Kelce. Somebody needs to slow him down at the line, because I noticed Monday night against the Commanders, there were several times ball snapped, Mahomes is scrambling around. Travis Kelce's just hanging out going, as soon as he sees Patrick Mahomes, Mahomie, roll out, there goes Kelce, there goes about a 20 or 30-yard gain. So somebody they need to stick to him like glue on a stamp and just control him.
You know, it sounds good in theory, but with so many, wide receivers on this roster, 5 deep, it is tough to pay attention to everyone. But you're right. Kelsey's coming off of one of his best games of the year, despite causing 1 interception for Mahomes, right, bounced right off of his hands. So the Bills, though, as I mentioned earlier, Bills and the Chiefs are top 5 in the league so far this year with covering tight ends. So as long as the Bills continue that trend, I think that they can kind of, I don't want to say erase Travis Kelce, but make him so he's not a huge factor in this game.
Right. Just keep him at bay. And I think that would be a big win for our defense, just keeping him, keep him out of the play.
Prediction time. What do you got?
My prediction's going to be 38-34 Bills.
There you go. Give it up for Mark, man. Thanks so much, brother. Appreciate you.
As always, go Bills.
There you go. All right, we got anybody else wants to come up?
Yeah, we got a line here.
Nice.
Come on in.
Got a lively fan showcase there. How's it going, buddy? What's your name?
My name's John Warren, Syracuse.
Nice. So we got one rule, by the way. If you're coming up, listen to this. You got to eat the mic, otherwise they won't hear you, especially
Eat the
at
mic?
home. Yes.
All right, I got
So
you.
what do you got? What's your hot take for tomorrow?
Hot take for tomorrow. Keon Coleman is going to be the MVP of the game tomorrow. That's who I
Woo.
got. I got Keon. Keon's going to lead my fantasy team. He's going to be the best out there.
So what led you to drafting Keon Coleman? Did you get him late in the draft?
Yeah, I got him like in the 10-man, about fourth round.
Fourth round? Okay.
Yeah.
I got him in one of my leagues as well. I've been a little bit disappointed, but hey, if he has a big game tomorrow, it's good for both of us. So I like where your head's at.
I see it tomorrow. He's coming out. He's going to be on the top. He's going to be top in fantasy points tomorrow. I just feel it.
What's your biggest worry for tomorrow?
Probably Chiefs offense
Okay.
coming out and just putting it on them.
Awesome.
That's the number one thing I'm worried about. I just have a question for both of you. As a Bucks fan, I just want to know, what do you guys think of Emeka Egbuka as Offensive Rookie of the Year?
I love his game. I love everything that he's done this year. He's stepped up when Mike Evans was originally hurt. Now Evans obviously is out for most of the rest of the year. Good chemistry already with Baker Mayfield. So I think he's in a good spot to win the Rookie of the Year for the offensive side of the ball.
My son's usually watching right up here front row. I thought he was going to go nuts. He's doing his first fantasy football league this year, and I did it with him, and we drafted Emeka Egbuka late. Great value, and he's been absolutely outstanding. So I love Emeka Egbuka. I know a lot of people who are Ohio State fans, though, like John Scott. Shout out to him, Channel 2. So I generally don't root for Ohio State players, but I do root for Egbuka because my son has him on his fantasy team. So it's awesome.
It's carried my fantasy. Him and Baker have a different connection that it's like he's our next fantasy receiver.
I like it.
I see him coming out being one of the next Mike Evans for the Bucks.
I love it. Great appearance. First one on the Shout podcast. Appreciate you coming on, man. All right, who's coming up next? What's up, dude? What's your name?
Kobe.
Kobe? All right, so come over here. So show everybody this sweet hat. Walk a little bit closer so they can see it because it's so bright light. It says, play the Shout song. You're on the perfect podcast right now. What do you think? So who's on your jersey here?
Josh Allen.
Is he a good quarterback?
Yeah.
So what do you think's going to happen tomorrow in the game? Who do you think's going to win?
The Bills.
The Bills are going to win? Who do you think's going to have a big game?
Deion Dawkins.
Deion Dawkins. He's got to have a big game tomorrow. I love that one. All right, come back here for a second. I'm going to talk to your dad. All right, so the fam here came all the way out from Columbus.
Yeah, speaking of a Mecca, speaking of the Bucks, we did drive from Columbus, Ohio. We've got a crew here. I was born in Buffalo, but we live in Columbus. 13 of us going to the game tomorrow.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, I'll be dead honest. I'm nervous just like everybody else, obviously. But at the end of the day, they have to come here into our house. They have to deal with Orchard Park and Highmark Stadium in the final season. And at the end of the day, no matter what happens, one thing will always stay true. We always believe that stadium's going to be rocking. And there's nothing that would shake that for me. Nothing. But that being said, too, I feel like there's honestly like one or two paths to victory. And it has to be James Cook leading the charge, dominating on the ground, controlling some of the clock. And then the D-line has to do it, too, which is going to be a tough task because, like you said, Mahomes is getting the ball out super fast. So that kind of negates a pass rush. And without having Ed, it's hard to imagine that, but Deion's been a stud in the middle. He's got to make an impact. Groot, Epinesa, if they do their thing, we got a chance, man. We got a chance. More than a chance.
Let everybody know how long you've been listening to Shout.
A few years now.
Few years?
Yeah. But I mean, I never really watch it live on the stream. Always listen to the podcast. It's always on while I'm taking a shower. So my wife's always listening too. Yeah.
Apologies.
Yeah.
I get that a lot.
No,
Like,
she loves it. Listen, she's been listening to it so much so that she decided to stay with me and my friend and her sons. And she's like, no, like she's attached to it now, so she has to be here for it.
that's awesome. He was like, we were talking before the show. He had mentioned, I like to think of myself as the transition king, right? Like early on, I've kind of been dropping the ball lately. I don't feel like the ad reads, the transitions have been as clean. But
You're
Ryan,
more of the prince now. He's the king.
Oh yes, he is. He is. He's knocking it out. So you think what? So final prediction. What do you think tomorrow?
Man, I hate to make a prediction because if I'm answering with my head, like it's not what I want to think and it's not what anybody else does. But you got to go with your heart. As a Bills fan, you always have to go with your heart. And I think we win. I think we score in the mid to high 30s. I think we hold them under 30. Couple of turnovers in there, and Josh, yes, has been a big reason why we haven't been like so clean, as we expect. But who would you expect more than anybody to be able to just turn that on? It's Josh. And even if he doesn't do it this game and it doesn't turn out the way that we want, like you said at the beginning, Ryan, we're still at that point. We're 5-3. The season isn't over.
Right.
Okay. The season isn't over. We're 5-3, and he will turn it on, and we'll be just fine. We'll be in the hunt. We'll be in the mix. We'll figure out what happens after that.
My man. Killed it, man. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you.
Appreciate your support. Hey, have fun at the game tomorrow, okay? Man, Colby brought the fire out here. I like it. All right, let's get our guy up here next. All right, I want to introduce AJ here. Dude, try to hunch down a little bit. I don't want to have to try to put that. There you go. No, just kidding. You can stand straight up. So AJ, one of our first live shows ever. I think it was at Casey's Black Rock.
Yep.
You came out with the whole family. This was years ago. You might have still been in high school.
Yes.
Were you still in high school?
Yep.
So since then, he's been an intern with us, produced the podcast, has done his own Bills podcast. You can find him on X at
AJ Sobalski.
AJ Sobalski, one of my favorite people in the Bills community. What's up, brother? How are you?
How's it going?
It's great.
It's good. Yeah, good. Bills Chiefs week, right?
Yeah, you got to eat that mic, by the way.
Okay. So I just wanted to talk about and I think Matt already talked about it, but just the Josh Allen effect. I think he's poised to have that kind of breakout game. I think he's a player that's shown up in the big moments. In the last few weeks, we've seen him struggle. I think maybe more than just him. Joe Brady's, there's been issues across the board, wide receiver, offensive line not communicating. But I think Josh Allen, his ability to rise to the occasion, I think that's kind of been swept under the rug with all the fans focusing on all the issues, the safety play, the offensive coordinator. But at the end of the day, they have Josh Allen. So that's why I feel optimistic going into a game of this magnitude in early November that the Bills can pull it out. Yeah, at times Allen has looked frustrated, in my opinion, the last few weeks. But as people have mentioned, as you mentioned, Allen rises to the occasion against Kansas City. Almost 300 yards in the regular season, over 300 yards in the playoffs. Again, we've talked about play action pass and getting him some easy plays early on. I also think you got to call a design run. Let him take a hit. He almost needs that to get himself into these games. You haven't seen a lot of design quarterback runs. This is a matchup where you break glass in case of emergency. Let him run a little bit. Keep the Chiefs on their toes where they feel like they have to spy him at all times, and that might free some things up in the pass game.
And then, Matt, my question to you, who's the X factor defensively in this game with, Rice being back now, implemented the last couple of weeks? Where are these, come back strong? Kelsey's coming off a really good week. Who's the player defensively for the Bills that you really think can make an impact or be that blue chip kind of moment for him?
I don't. It's hard to pick just one, right? Like I mentioned Joey Bosa in my prediction. I could go with him again, but to me, it's going to be about in the passing game, effectively handling what they're offering. I think it could be like a Cole Bishop game. Like we haven't had a signature Cole Bishop performance yet, and I think the fact that he's playing with somebody, whether it be Poyer or Hancock, who I think is just able to fly around and play a little bit more freely than Rapp obviously was able to play. He almost had an interception working against Xavier Worthy in the playoff game last year. If he makes that play and the Bills win that game, how different is the conversation around Cole Bishop all offseason long? He's athletic. He's fast. He's healthy. Like, to me, I think this Chiefs offense thinks that they can abuse the secondary of the Buffalo Bills. If I'm Cole Bishop, I'm like, go ahead and try. Let me go out there and try to make a play. So I kind of think somebody that you don't think of. I didn't want to use this because it's kind of some homerism. Cam Lewis, if he starts for Taron Johnson tomorrow, the thing that everybody remembers about Cam Lewis's career was the Justin Jefferson play 5 years ago. How about him making a play against Rashee Rice in a big high leverage moment in this game tomorrow? I like both of those guys, some guys that are kind of flying under the radar that I think could potentially make some big plays tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds. I like the takes. I'm going to go with my prediction here quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Bills win. That's what they do against the Chiefs in the regular season. Until I don't see it, why would I go against it? I think Josh Allen, again, like I told Ryan earlier, I think he's going to come out, have a really good game for this team, and really assert himself back in the MVP race and, like you said, change the dynamic and the narratives around this team and what the media is talking about.
AJ Sobalski, man, thanks so much for coming out, brother. Great to see you. Great stuff. Great stuff. I don't know about you. Come on in here. All right, dude. By the way, there's my son Lucas in the house. So, did you hear us talking about Emeka Egbuka earlier?
What?
We were talking about Emeka Egbuka.
You were?
Yeah.
I was with Graham.
Graham who?
PJ.
Nice. Emeka Egbuka, who is that?
The football guy.
The football guy. Yes, very good. All right, so tomorrow, Bills versus Chiefs. What do you think?
Bills win. I say the Bills win 28-21.
28-21. I like that prediction. Is there any player that you think is going to have a good game?
I think Keon Coleman's going to have a good game, and I think James Cook's going to have a good game.
Great stuff. You really brought the fire tonight. I appreciate it. Love you, buddy. Good job, bud. All right. This has been awesome. Oh, yeah. Come on in. Wow.
I never have anything to say.
Yes.
No, this is not about defense, offense. It's about the whiny Bills fans. We've got a long season to go, and every game, of course, you want them to do well. But remember, they need to get to the playoffs, so obviously they need to get there. But no game is going to matter. They get to the playoffs, and the key is that Super Bowl. Everything will change in one game, and every fan needs to keep the faith no matter how well or how bad that they play. It just matters one game. So keep the faith and go Bills.
It's great energy, Michelle. Great job. Is that your second time on the show ever? Very good. I keep track of these things. All right, Ryan, I'm going to give you the final word, my friend. Try not to fall off my chair.
Final word, I'm looking for the Bills' defensive line to step up and make some plays. I know Mahomes gets the ball out fast, but that's the opportunity for Epinesa, Groot. A lot of these guys to get their hands up and deflect passes. Doing that can be just as good. My player to watch in this game is Michael Hoyt because of the versatility. We saw how effective he was off the edge last week. Obvious passing downs, you kick him inside. see what he can do. Knocked over a guard last week in that matchup against the Panthers on his way to a sack. I think he could be an X factor for the Bills.
Jackson Hawes has been awesome this season, but if I'm Joe Brady, I'm thinking about maybe going back to that jumbo package, get Alec Anderson on the field. How about a big guy touchdown in this one? Bold prediction. What would you think about that?
I would
Alec
love that.
Anderson in the red zone.
There was so much talk about that last year for a big man touchdown. Never happened. So this would be the game to kind of throw out the kitchen sink, so to speak.
All right, for Ryan Talbot, I am Matt Parrino. Thank you so much for watching Wingnuts, 1402 Millersport Highway. Get out here tomorrow for all the games if you're not going to be at Highmark Stadium. We'll see you next time, everybody. Take care.